stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. We have a couple of changes we need to make to the agenda. We need to remove item 4. Jan will be coming back to us in December to report on the senior Tar Heel legislation. We need to add item 7B under Mr. Laws' presentation, and that will be the Laurel School resolution. We need to delete item 8A, move 8B to A, and we need to add at the end a closed session for personnel under General Statute 143-318, paragraph 11. The chair will move that we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. The amended agenda has been approved. Next item is the approval of the October 9th special and regular session minutes and October 30th special minutes as they were presented to you by the clerk. Are there any additions, corrections to the minutes that were submitted in the packet?
Having reviewed the minutes from all 3 sessions and finding them in order, I move that we accept them as submitted.
Have a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. At this time, we have public comment. I think we have a couple of people who signed up to speak. Looks like Mike, you're up first.
I just wanted to make a statement. 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, Clayton Rice showed up at my doorstep on a Saturday morning campaigning for office. He wasn't the typical candidate you would find coming to you. Instead of just wanting to shake my hand and ask for a vote, he actually spent time talking to me about issues in the county, enough so that he got me interested in what was going on in the county, to where after a little discussion with my wife and getting permission, I was allowed to get involved in the county government and what's going on. And I just wanted to say thank you to Clayton and to Bill Briggs also for the years that you have put in helping the county and to make it a better place. I'm sure Madison County over time will realize that we will miss you dearly, and I know I will miss working with you guys. Thank you for giving us of your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Sarah Nichols. Evening, Sarah.
Good evening. Good to see some of you guys and be home for a little bit. I have some good news to share tonight. History. Several years ago, me and this team here started to work together on a pathway to improve broadband in this county. In 2016, we started an extensive survey and mapping under the direction of NCDIT, and the survey results gave us a good picture at where connectivity issues in the county were. Through this demand aggregation, we were able to help providers find places and start deploying and encourage existing companies to expand their services. What it left us with was a picture of what parts of the county were going to be left over because they were not going to meet certain ROI metrics for a business model. Back in the spring and summer of this year, we worked with the French Broad Electric Cooperative to submit several grants for their broadband expansion project. One of these grants was the USDA Federal Community Connect grant that was a complete long shot for us. But we knew it was one of the only options for broadband grant funding, so we persevered through the process, including Forrest, Amanda, myself, participating in the Laurel Fire Department pig roast to collect letters of support from individuals in the community who this issue hit home for. Through the process of writing that grant, I recall collecting about 140 letters from the Laurel and Revere communities alone. Today, I was informed that the French Broad Electric Co-op was awarded a $3 million grant, making us the first of 2 North Carolina counties awarded with no county match needed. In addition to the citizens, it will also provide needed connectivity to the Laurel Fire Department, Senior Center, and the Rhea Rice Cove Community Center. Maybe the Laurel School now. This project will require partnership with the community centers to provide open access with public computers. And I hope everyone, you all in the audience, will join me in thanking the co-op for their continued support, dedication, and investment in broadband deployment in this county, as this project's going to take all of us to accomplish. When I spoke with them today, we were already talking about what project will be next. I welcome the opportunity to meet with any of you about future steps for the broadband in this county.
Excellent.
Sarah?
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah, that's a great day for Madison County. Thank you very much, and we certainly need to thank the folks at French Broad. That's a $3 million boost to broadband without any local match. It's a major accomplishment. Thank you. At this point, we will open this meeting to points of personal privilege on behalf of the commissioners, and I will start that off. I also want to thank Bill and Clayton for having the privilege to work with you guys the last 4 years. A great deal of good has happened in Madison County. But I think one of the most significant things that we have accomplished together, and with your help, is that we have brought, I think, a new level of civility and just good government that we've all worked together on across both parties. We've not always agreed, but we've agreed to agree on what is in the best interest of Madison County. It has been my personal and professional privilege, gentlemen. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faith.
Okay. I did tell what he says. We have worked together, I think, better than any county commissioners have done. We've accomplished quite a bit. And like you said, we hadn't always agreed, but we can disagree, and we don't have to go and talk about somebody. We didn't have to go to 5. We just drew back, and it takes 3. It takes 3 votes to cover whatever. And when if you get 3 or more, that matter's done. And we've done that, and we've accomplished a lot. I appreciate the people that's taking their time to come out here. Not many people does, but I appreciate the ones that has come, because you know more what's happening in the county than people who haven't. And that by listening to these meetings and what we've done, that we don't have any money much, and we've tried to do our best with what amount we have had. I appreciate that, and I like Norris, Commissioner Norris. I appreciate what working with the commissioners. I really do, and I stated that to start with. And I want to thank the central office. They've done a good job. They've always been more than happy to be helpful to anything that I've asked them for, and they do an excellent job. Forrest has been an excellent county manager. He spends money like I do wisely, and I appreciate that. And you have to help somebody like him. And I hope he stays here a long time, because I'm sure he can find a better job with less stress. But I appreciate what he's done. I want to thank you for that, and the staff too. It takes all of you working together to accomplish this. But he's done a good job, and I want to say thank you for that. We've had several, and it's just the high spots, several achievements. Of course, the first thing we've done is balance the budget. That's the first thing, and that's good that we've done that. The collection of delinquent taxes. I've been on this board, it'll be 8 years, and we finally got a board that will collect delinquent taxes. We've collected right at $2.5 million. And it's brought our rate up from 90% to 97%. And you just think about, if we only collecting 90%, there's 10% of the population wasn't paying anything. And that's a lot of money. And that's been one of the biggies that I appreciate this board for when they did this. And we worked together on this, along with the tax office. Don't leave them out. And we had our county attorney. He's right there, and where is he?
He's gonna be late. He's double dipping tonight.
Yeah, we can't talk about him, but it's been an ongoing thing, but it's worked, and we've collected a lot of money that would have been lopped off after 10 years. And we've expanded economic development the best we can. We're the location of this county, next to Buncombe County in Tennessee. It really puts us behind. People spend 80% of their money in Buncombe County. They work in Buncombe County. If there's a business wanting to locate, they can give them a lot more economic incentives, whatever they want. Their budget's 325 to 50 million. Ours is 24. That shows you the difference in what they can offer, what we can offer. Of course, you probably knew that as far as the amount. But we've got some companies and improvements that's come to this county. Bucci, and they're going to expand, I think. And the Super Abrasives, they're going to expand with more jobs. Peerless Fans, they expanded and hired at least 33 new people, maybe more. And that was in Hot Springs, and I'm sure they appreciated the people that has the jobs not having to drive to Asheville. I mean, I would, because I'd hate to put up with driving to Asheville every morning in the traffic. We've supported education to the fullest extent. We've built the new appropriated, or whatever you want to name it, to the new Madison County Early College and improvements at Brush Creek. And there's been increased funding for schools in the budget every year. You know, if you hear that that's not true, it is true. We've increased it. And there's lots of more things we've done. I don't want to take up time tonight to talk about smaller things. And the internet's going to be improved. That's important to get businesses to move to Madison County. But I've got to talk about something that I don't know if everybody's familiar with. I've tried for 8 years to get Mars Hill College to let the students of Madison County go to college, Mars Hill University now, excuse me, to go to college, university, for what AB Tech would charge them per semester hour, or something comparable with that. They could go for 1 hour, they could go for 20 hours, they could go for any amount of hours. It'd all be part-time, or they could go full-time, and it'd be commuters. It'd just be gravy to the college. I don't know why this won't happen, but I'm sure that the new person that's elected there, he's an employee of Mars Hill University. He's been an 18-year veteran of the school board, and I want you people to stay after him and see if he can't get this accomplished. That's one thing, and I've tried with no avail. So maybe he's got the power and the political influence to get this done. So I want you to stay after him and see if this happens. I talked to him about it, but it didn't seem to happen when he was on the board of education. So maybe he can make it happen now that he's on the commission. So I hope if this doesn't happen, you'll stay after him, but be sure it does happen. And again, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for coming all the meetings you've come, and I've enjoyed. Even though it's a hectic job, it's not much thank to be a commissioner, but I know that this board's had a difference in maintaining a balanced budget and spending the money wiser that we do have, and it's going to improve. You know, I don't want to be a pessimist. I want to say that we're going to have improvements. We will do this as time goes, and I feel good about that. Again, thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
I would just say times two what Bill just said. It's certainly been a pleasure for me to be on this board for the past 4 years. When I ran for election in 2014, I kind of knew what being a commissioner was to some degree, but I didn't know what it really was all about. So while I was out campaigning, most every meeting that was held, I would come because I felt that I need to be a student of what this board's all about. I need to learn what takes place here. And I spent from February through November coming to the meetings, every one that I could possibly make. And I think that made a big difference for me personally. Everyone's different, but that was a huge help to me. Looking around the room after we were sworn in December of 2014, we had our first meeting and we had a decision to make. And it was a huge decision as far as I was concerned. We needed a competent county manager. And we took an initial step that first night that we actually met down in the courthouse. And one of the smartest things this board did was when we hired Forrest as our county manager. And Forrest, I just want to personally thank you for all the work and endless numbers of hours that you have put in and given to our county. I certainly appreciate it. And I know the other board members feel likewise. And as I look around the room, you know, I just see things that has happened. First of all, the room itself. We didn't used to be here. We used to meet in the courthouse. And the courthouse was okay, but this is so much better. The parking's so much better. The seating's so much better that you can hear in here. You can stream the meetings, which we're doing now. First time in the history of Madison County government. This has been the most open Board of Commissioners in my lifetime, and I'm almost 62 years old. The most open, most transparent. In the past, you would have never heard of a Board of Commissioners actually taping their meeting. It's pretty cool. You can go back and see. I mean, from the time we've had this about 2.5 years for us, is that right? 3.5, whatever. You can actually go back and review that in the archives and see what the discussion was and see who voted how and why they voted that way, probably. That's been a huge advancement for this board. I look over here at Brooke. We had 250, 280 employees. We didn't have a human resources officer. That was one of the big things that I pushed that, because I felt that was something that was extremely necessary for a county this size with that number of employees. And we got Brooke on board, and she's not only done all the things that would be necessary in the hiring process. We have a new process now that I think seems to work, and I certainly hope this board will continue as you all move forward and look at the process. But she not only did that, she went out and employee assistance program, pay very little money for that, for a very necessary service for not only the employees of the county, but also the family members of those employees. Anyone who has a problem, financial problems, issues with drugs, alcohol, whatever, depression, whatever the issues may be. And there's a whole list of things. But Brooke, thank you so much. I'd also like to say thanks to Rhea. Rhea came on board. Darlene retired, and Rhea came on board. We needed a CPA. We now have that. So we've continued to raise the bar, and the bar is now at a level that if the bar goes down, people, if they're paying attention, should notice that. So the bar needs to continue to go up. So I challenge this board, all five of you, to continue at the pace or whatever pace you choose, but do not let that drop. Do not let the bar drop. It's been a pleasure. I've learned just a whole lot about county government, and it's really been a pleasure to sit here and work with everyone. It's been a good board, and as Bill said, we've all worked together. We hadn't always agreed on everything, but at the end of the day, we still came out, and we were still friends. And our country's got to decide what they want to do. Do we want to be about politics, or do we want to be about cleaning this mess up that's in our country today? And if you go to the national level, it's a mess. Nobody gets along up there. If you go to the state level, it's almost as bad. The closest thing we have to what we want is what we have right here. This is the only board that I'm aware of that gets along as well as this board does and tries to do things in a progressive manner. And I would like to thank the board for that. And Mr. Laws, I appreciate all the work that you have done with our delinquent taxes. Bill had already paid tribute to you for that work. And I likewise would like to do that. And Lori, you and your team, and all the department heads, we hadn't mentioned everyone, and we won't. But it's just been a really, really good 4 years. And am I sad to go? Yeah, I'm a little sad. I hate to lose. I mean, but you can't always win. And I'm a big boy. I'm into sports pretty heavily, and it hurt me quite a bit to lose, but not quite as bad as it did when Clemson beat Alabama. So if that puts it in perspective. But the bottom line is we got to do what's right for our county. And this is the board. This is the board that will make a difference and will either continue to improve the county or not. The choice is yours. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I say, I need to make two corrections before I say thank you to these guys. One, I want to add, we appreciate also, we don't want to select Print Pack. We appreciate the work that they've done as a manufacturer in the county too, and their expansions and everything that they've done. So I just wanted to hit that. Second of all, first time I've ever been labeled a progressive, hopefully the last time I've ever been labeled a progressive, and Bill as well, I assume. But I'm just glad Paul's not here to record that, so everything should be fine there, hopefully.
It's on video.
All right, well, but anyway, I want to say I go back further with Bill than anybody here, and Bill's partially responsible for me even being here, and I appreciate that, and I thank you, Bill, for your years of sage advice and sage counsel, and you always were a voice for the people of Madison County who were, you always kept me in perspective for the people who were born and raised here and have lived their whole life here. And I appreciate you keeping me grounded in those areas. And Bill, you're a good man. I appreciate everything that you've done for the county as clerk of court and now as county commissioner. You've been an asset to Madison County, and I hate to see you go. I feel like I might be a little lonely on this board from time to time. Hopefully that won't be the case. But Clayton, I've not known you nearly as long, about 3 years now, I guess. And we've occasionally been adversaries, but we've never been enemies. And I think that's a big thing. With this board, we've been outnumbered 3-2. Soon to be outnumbered 4-1, but we've never been enemies. And even if we didn't see eye to eye on certain issues, we never left enemies. And I appreciate that about all you guys. And I wish you both the best. Enjoy your grandbabies and enjoy your retirement. And come back to see us from time to time. Keep it straight. All right, guys. Thank you.
Matt, if you'll come around with me, and gentlemen, we have some plaques to present. Rhea, I think you're the designated photographer. Bill, you're up first.
No.
Yeah, I will let you.
All right, thank you.
Come around and sit.
Oh, yeah, just where we can get a good picture here. All right.
This is presented to Commissioner C, which we won't tell everybody what C stands for, William Briggs, in recognition and gratitude of his dedication and service to the citizens of Madison County from 2010 to 2018, presented this 13th day of November 2018 by the Madison County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, Clayton, you're up.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Your chair. Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Presented to Commissioner Clayton Rice in recognition and gratitude of his dedication and service to the citizens of Madison County from 2014 to 2018. Presented this the 13th day of November 2018 by the Madison County Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I won't run you out for it. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Lori Ray.
I'm here tonight to present our annual settlement of 2017 taxes. This includes a letter of information regarding the settlement, the sworn statement, a collection summary, and the property tax collection rate computation, as well as an insolvents list. Anyone have any questions they'd like to?
Appreciate all your work.
Absolutely, Lord.
Thank you.
The total, and you have your numbers in front of you as well. Let's review here the total property tax collections. I believe they're on page 3 of this report, is that correct? And then the adjusted levy, which is slightly lower. Maybe the adjusted levy would be the best number for us to, was 10,384,485.22.
Correct.
Correct. All right. The insolvents. This total by year. If I'm looking at that summary correct on page 5 of 5 is 30,907.58, correct? Okay, that's a grand total of the insolvents. Okay. Do any of the members of the board have any questions reference to this? Mr. Laws, we need a motion on this.
You did.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2017 annual settlement of tax report submitted by our tax collector. Motion to approve. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the annual settlement of 17 taxes as presented, please raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you and your staff for all of your patience and hard work while we're getting your office back in shape.
Thank you.
I know it's been a,
It's been a challenge.
I know, but thank you. You guys are doing a great job.
Mr. Chairman, can I say one other thing?
Yes, sir.
I forgot to explain what you're looking at here. I'm not having a midlife crisis. The company that I work for actually sponsoring the men and or women that want to participate in the No Shave November they're going to donate so much money for each person that does that to cancer research. So that's why you're looking at me looking all scruffy and whatever. So that's what it's all about. Nothing crazy going on here. Still married, still live out the road here.
Oh. All right, Miss D, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I love coming to visit you because it means I've finished another policy that seems to be never ending out of the state. This is the system safety plan for Madison County Transportation Authority. If you received all the emails, there was a lot of light reading for you, probably 1,000,001 pages. I do apologize. I will just put it all in perspective. The state has recently come out with 6 major areas that we have to cover when we talk about our safety plan. They are the emergency action plan, both on our vans and in our building. A fire prevention plan, both on our vans and in our building. A preventative maintenance plan, which is something that we've been really working towards this year. Get all our vehicles up and running the way they're supposed to be. Paying attention to where the state wants us and what the rates are for that. And that helps us get new vans. So if we hit 115 to 150,000 miles on a vehicle, that allows us to go and ask the state and federal government for new vans. So now that we've got all the paperwork put together and doing all that we're supposed to, we should have 4 coming this year and possibly 4 more next year.
Excellent.
The drug and alcohol policy we've been through before. You guys approved that. This is part of that. This is our random drug testing and all of the policies that go with it. Madison County Transportation Authority is under random drug testing laws and pre-employment and reasonable suspicion. The other part is the security plan. Our building was paid for by federal dollars, therefore that's why there is a fence around it for all our vehicles in our building. This is why we have security cameras. Everything is locked up tight. And so there's a security plan not only for how we give out keys for our vehicles, but how we park our vehicles and where we park our vehicles and how our building is secured in the evenings. And then the last one is continuity of operations plan. This is how we are part of the county in case of state of emergency. So if we had an emergency and we opened shelters, the transportation department would be participating in that and how we go about doing that. So those are the 6 major areas. And we just had a review. It's taken over 1.5 years to get that thing done. We had 14 deficiencies, 2 of which were oversight on there. So we only actually had 12. And I've completed all those. And in order to close it out with the state and federal government, I need you to approve the plan and to sign that you have done so that I can now put that aside for the next one, whatever that is, in another month or so. Do you have any questions about what we're doing?
This is actually a consolidation of work that has primarily already been done, because I know many of these we've already approved in singular form.
Absolutely. It's pulling them all together, making them cohesive. And then the state has recently started putting all of this together. We've just been doing training on it. And it's just an easier way to deliver the information to our drivers and to our community.
Donny, have you had a chance to?
I scanned it, all of these. I did not read it for substitute, anything
It'll
for
put you to sleep.
substance. I'm assuming that she knows what she's talking about. All the plans are required.
Yes.
They have to be approved by the state. So I'm assuming you're relying upon your department head to present an appropriate recommendation to you, but these are necessary policies that have to be put into effect to continue drawing down the state and federal funds. Most of them, I believe, as Dee mentioned, they are reviewed by the state for compliance. So the review's been had, they corrected the deficiencies, so your plan should pass muster at least to continuing receiving the state and federal.
Absolutely.
Okay. Forrest, do you have anything that you would add?
I think the attorney, Ms. Heinmuller, covered it very well. It's something that we go through, it seems like a few times every year, and just imagine how many times Dee and everybody's having to go through it, but the state tells us exactly what we need to do, and we're in much better shape the last 2 years being where we need to be than we've been at times, so.
That's good. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the system safety plan, Madison County Transit Authority, as submitted. Have a motion. Chair will second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It is approved.
Thank you, gentlemen. See you on the next one.
Take care, Dee. Thank you, and thank you for your continued improvement.
You're welcome.
Thank you for picking that up. Sorry about that.
Somebody read it.
This much of the
Thanks,
book is what we just approved.
Year and a
Right
half
there.
of work.
Year and a half of work.
It's like you said, we've approved it before.
Yeah, now it's consolidated and finished. All right, Mr. Laws, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. First of all, I have a tax update for November. You're used to reading these, so at the top of it will show the collections that we've had for November, which is $27,990. We have 2 ongoing sales. We had those sales on November the 5th. Total amount of delinquent taxes, approximately $11,000 out of those. 2 properties that we had bidders on, so interest was shown. We won't be taking those back. The bids so far are sufficient to completely pay all outstanding taxes together with all outstanding costs. In fact, there may be some surplus that we would deposit back with the clerk for the landowners to petition for. Both of those are, I believe both of them have upset bids that are currently filed in them. So depending on how long those upset bids go, I would hope to be able to report to you in next month's summary that we've collected at least an additional $11,000. We have other files that are close to sale. I've listed those 4 files there. And the sheet is attached. I hope you all have that shows, since we started this, there's 11 pages on it, and there's a lot of red on it. So that would indicate over the last probably 3 years that we've been aggressively collecting these taxes, that a lot of them are like these we've listed here, these 2, we've collected a lot of back taxes. And what we've not collected, we've acquired surplus property that we've been able to move and sell that and add that to the county's coffers. So unless you have any questions regarding that report, that would be all I've got to tell you about that.
We did amend the agenda in your
I have one
absence.
more, and I can
Yes, if you would. sir.
grab this file right here. As you know, and I think we recently discussed at a special meeting, we had folks from down in Laurel that had formed their nonprofit corporation, and they've shown a tremendous amount of interest in acquiring the former Laurel School property. The school board, I believe, met last week, and they formally entered a resolution to transfer that property to the county. We have a copy of that resolution. We have yet to receive the deed. And the reason being, I believe they are considering actually going through the process of having that property surveyed. As I reported to you earlier, there are 4 or 5 different tracts of land that make up the entirety of the Laurel School property. And that goes back many years. So property has never been surveyed. So I believe the attorney for the school board may have advised the board that the best thing they could do would be to have that property surveyed, which is good for us. They have it surveyed, they transfer it to us. It is also of great benefit to the people who we intend to transfer that to, that being the Laurel Community Club, because they will then know where their boundaries are to the piece of property. So we have that resolution, and I believe this board has heretofore shown its interest and actually entered into an agreement with Laurel to convey that property to them. In order to do that, you first have to give a notice in the newspaper that has to be published at least 10 days before you can actually execute a deed to the nonprofit corporation. The notice actually sets forth in it the details of a resolution that I believe you all have before you. That is a proposed resolution that I prepared. And basically it sets forth your intent to convey that property to the Laurel Community Club, the nonprofit corporation, for no monetary consideration. And you can do that according to the statute that's cited there, which basically allows you all to transfer property to a nonprofit corporation, which, as you know, when you go through the budget process, you can appropriate monies to a nonprofit corporation. And you do that each and every year in the budget process. So what this statute allows you to do is actually to appropriate real property to a nonprofit corporation, provided, and this is the key, that nonprofit corporation continues to hold and use that property for a public purpose. And the public purpose that's set forth in this statute is that they will use that property for a community center, which you have in the past actually leased property to community centers. You give license to community centers. You actually appropriate money to community centers. What you would be doing here is allowing this community center to own title to this property, provided that they continue to use it as a community center, and also to allow the property to be used to benefit school-aged children of Madison County in recreational activities, which is continuing the process from the school to the county to the community center. And as long as they continue to use the property for those purposes, they will own the property. In the event that they violate those restrictions, then you can begin an action to have the property brought back to you, because they would no longer be using it for their purpose. They cannot sell the property. They can use it for ways, a public purpose does not necessarily mean they can't use it to make money. I mean, you have to have money in order to keep the property up to date, so they could rent it out to folks who are going to be providing services to the community. It benefits both folks. You're giving them a nice piece of land that they can use as a community center. It's good for you folks in that, look at the resolution that the school board gave to you. What was the consideration that they conveyed it to you for? Getting rid of the obligation of having to maintain the property, which was, I believe the resolution said, was running them about at least $15,000 a year. So, you know, what you're doing, you're passing this through to you, to a community club, but you're assisting them in giving them property, but you are not maintaining that property. You know, you may give them money in the form that you give other community clubs their appropriation each year, but you will not be obligated to pay the electric bill. You'll be obligated to maintain insurance on it. And the folks in the community center are well aware of that, as you know in your earlier discussions. So I have the proposed resolution. If you pass that resolution, it authorizes the running of the notice. And once the notice is run for more than 10 days, then the county can then be in a position to actually sign the deed with the covenants over to the community club. Of course, I think we're going to need that survey before any of that can happen, but this is the process to put all of that in motion. I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions you might have.
All right. Donny, thank you very much. Forrest, everyone else has worked on this for a long time, the other members of the board. This has been something that's been in process for a considerable period of time. Are there any comments or discussions from members of the board? The chair will move that we execute the resolution authorizing the transfer of the Laurel Elementary School property to the Laurel Community Center, Org Incorporated. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank all again. All right. Very good work. All right. Come right on down, Miss Brooke. Move right along.
Only have one thing today. It's the 2019 holiday schedule. So as you know, we follow the state holiday schedule. They've released it. It's just your standard holidays, but puts it in a formal list so I can send it out to employees so they know what's going on.
Does anyone have any discussion relative to these holidays?
Mr. Chair, I move we accept the holiday schedule as presented by personnel.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the 2019 holiday schedule as recommended, please raise your right hand. So shall it be spoken. So shall it be done.
Thanks, Brooke.
All right, Miss Rhea.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well,
Happy finances to you. I am presenting to you today. Wow, I got that off the whole wrong report. That's awesome. The October 2018 monthly financial report, which I do not have in front of me apparently, because I have the September. Somebody wants to lend me a copy of one.
We ours is September too.
Oh. That's interesting. I wonder if I just didn't change a date. That's what I'm gonna go with because it looks like the rest of it says October. And I think the numbers look different from what I recall, so.
they do.
Great, awesome. So if we'll everybody change at the very top of the first page that to October 31st. We appreciate that.
And bottom of second page.
Yes, please. Okay, so at the end of October, you will see the total in our unrestricted bank accounts was about $7.2 million. Once we take into consideration our debt payments that come out at the end of the year, our 4042 restricted money and spent grant proceeds and encumbered amounts, our total unassigned unrestricted bank balance as of the end of October was a negative $1.2 million. Again, a lot of that money is money we've promised to pay throughout the year, and as our tax money comes in, we build up our reserve for the rest of the year. Of that negative 1.2, negative $1.5 million belongs to the general fund, with the rest belonging to landfill and 911. Any same sort of thing that we've been looking at for the last 3 months. So, any questions on page 1? On page 2, you'll see the summaries for the general fund. For the month of October, we have a surplus of $200,000. Again, we are receiving our tax monies in, and that's really great. Lori and her team's doing a wonderful job collecting in their new temporary location, and we're getting everybody to go to the right place. And that puts us at a year to date of a negative 1.4, knowing we still have lots of money to come in. Landfill for the month of October has a $38,000 surplus, leaving their year to date at a negative 79,000. And 911 has, at this point, has had very little revenue come in because it's always a little behind. So they have a negative 14,000 for the month and a negative 13,000 for the year. Any questions on that?
What point are we projected to get out of that negative territory?
Hopefully by the end of the calendar year, as we've collected the majority of our property taxes. I foresee the unrestricted, unassigned, we have those jail loans, fiber extensions loans, school debt service, those we pay in February and April. We will always have unspent grant and restricted proceeds as well as the Medicaid cost settlement and encumbered amounts, but there's a lot of things that are encumbered that we won't spend until the last 6 months of the year, so.
It seems that we're running about, if these numbers, like revenue to date, percent of budget 15%, we should be about 33%, correct?
Our revenues for the first half of the year do stay behind because we don't start collecting.
Right. I just
Right
don't
away.
remember
Yeah.
in the past that it's been.
I think it's off by a month. I'm based on what I looked at on our report.
Yeah.
Every month.
It feels that way to me
Yeah,
too.
it feels that way too.
Okay. Delete that comment. So it's actually 3/12, so 25%. We're still a little bit behind, but
I think it should be 4/12, so I think it should be 33%. I think
Correct.
that
Yeah.
went with the date thing.
okay. Well, this is my last meeting. Good luck, fellas.
Any other questions on the financial statement?
Budget amendment?
Actually, checks.
Checks, yes.
So you'll see a very large list of checks. And my formatting is terrible on mine. So that's why it looks so long. And I've tried to make notes. I don't recall anything that really stood out. I know we had to do some HVAC work at the burger parlor, and they did grading work at the animal shelter, the admin building, and some maintenance. The landfill got their new software, and they've been working on implementing that and getting through some hiccups for that. They seem to be really enjoying it.
Is that the Southern software?
It's Carolina software.
Carolina, okay.
On the
There's
first
also
page
one in
for-
here for Southern, it's fairly substantial.
That's the jail.
The jail, okay.
That one, yes, there's dispatch, sheriff's department, and the 911 CAD system both have their annual maintenance agreements.
Okay.
That renew
All right.
in September, October, so.
All right.
So that wasn't a new expense. That was actually in the budget.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
we've used the Southern software for several years on all three of these.
Okay. Board members have any questions relative to that? All right.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Rhea, the
Budget
budget amendment.
All right, I have for you budget amendment number 6 with one item on it. The home care community block grant has gotten some additional money through the Division of Aging for in-home aides, and we got a portion of some of that money. So we are increasing our revenues by $9,900. This is going to offset county money that we had already budgeted there, so that expense line is just going to contingency at this point.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve, excuse me, budget amendment number 6 dated November 13, 2018, approving $9,987 in additional revenue to contingency.
So moved.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, Rhea.
Thank you. And I also have the October 2018 tax refunds. Is that right? Yes, just the tax refunds for you. They're working on getting the releases out of the system. It's being a little challenging, but I know we'll have a report soon.
Now, this is a report from the new computer system?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is totally different format.
Yes.
Okay. Again, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the tax refunds and releases.
No, just refunds, right?
Just refunds.
Refunds, yes, I'm
Just
sorry,
refunds,
refunds.
no releases.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
The refunds.
With that correction, I'll make that
Move.
move. That motion.
Thank you, sir. I will second the corrected one. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right.
And the last thing I have for you is the Vaya Health Quarterly Report. This is just for information. So we give money
Right.
required by state statute to Vaya, and they are required in return to send us a quarterly report of how they're doing.
Commissioners, I'll emphasize the importance of this Vaya in general when we talk about who funds RHA and whether we have access to services in this area. This is the chief. They're managing all of the Medicaid dollars. And looking at reports doesn't help you with that, but well, it helps you get started on knowing what to advocate for at those quarterly meetings they hold.
Any further discussion or questions? All right, Ms. Rhea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rhea.
Forrest?
Mr. Chairman, with part of my time, I would like to comment on two of the parting commissioners as well. One of the things that's special about this county, any county, are the people who step forward at some point to serve their community. When you look at the history of our county, it's a lot of different boards of commissioners at different times, and you see a lot that each of those contributed. When we go looking through minutes and things like that to research something, we see something new every time that previous commissioners have done that combined is what you all inherited when you came in, and what anyone's continuing or coming into office also inherits. And that means you inherit the good things to build on, and the things that didn't go as well, the mistakes, or the things that nobody could ever get to. And everyone continues during their time in office to work on how they address those. And Commissioner Briggs and Commissioner Rice, the work you all have done, Commissioner Briggs in 8 years and Commissioner Rice in 4 years, I think that you have made tough decisions, as everyone in your position has to do, because local government doesn't have the same option that the federal government has. You have to live with what's available. You all have made important steps for the county that people who come after you will inherit, and that you all will be able to be proud of. And I appreciate the opportunity to work for you all. I appreciate the trust you've had in me, support you've had for me at various times, the reminders you've each had at different times on making the right decision or worrying about whether it might be the most popular, because that's what you, at the end of the day, everyone has to do when you're in the positions you all are in. But just a few things that you all covered everything very well, but I will say one thing that folks coming in after you will not inherit will be a rock building in Marshall. That after a lot of work.
I meant to mention that.
And it's not a perfect solution, as y'all know. It's just the best solution that everyone felt like was possible. But the building is still standing, and it's no longer a liability for the county. And that's public service, and that's the decisions that you all make as a group. And other elected bodies in the county also make decisions that they have a role to play. And I think that's a really good result that had sort of been stagnant for a number of years when y'all came in. You have learned from that in how you're handling Laurel School, I would say, and giving that opportunity for that to function as a community center, but realizing that the lease arrangement may not always be the best thing for the county. And from a budgetary standpoint, that makes a lot of sense based on our current tax revenues for you all to have moved forward with that decision and working with that. Economic development in the county. 4 years ago, we had no staff, but we had me working part of the time in my old job on that, along with doing a number of other things. You all, with the help of the legislature, when they came forward with some extra sales tax money, you all prioritized that, both for the schools and for economic development. And you were able to fund staff. You were able to make progress. Still a long way to go, a lot to build on, but you have laid the groundwork for the next steps to go there. And you all should be very proud of that. You know, you hear the success tonight that's very good on broadband that started about 2.5 years ago, like Sarah said, with doing the surveys at a time when people said, what are we doing? You know, why can't we lay this in the ground? It's because that's how you have to do it. It's how you have to start. It's the hard work. And having Sarah out there at the fire department back in May or maybe late April, getting those names, which no trouble. Everybody was willing to sign up for that. But I know, Clayton, you provided a list of people in that community that we could contact. That was very helpful. People in your positions and people in public service in general have to do things realizing they may be hated for some of the things. You may look back someday and you may already look back and say, wish I'd done something differently. We're all going to do that. But you also, I think, have to make decisions knowing you may not be the ones who get the credit for it. So I think you've left to work to leave good things. Doesn't mean, you know, that any of us, and definitely me, make the best decision with what we have at any time in front of us. But we all have to continue to build on that. And I appreciate two of you all, the leadership you've shown in your time on this board, and wish you the best. Thank you. One other thing on a success that we're beginning to see, we will be seeing very soon, is a drug court in Madison County. You all funded that in this year's budget, a partnership with Yancey and Mitchell counties. And the coordinator, Angela Fox Holtzapple, she will begin on Monday. She and her husband were moving to Green Mountain in Yancey County. She's an experienced drug court coordinator in Pennsylvania, so that worked out very well. She was coming to this area. She will be the drug court coordinator for Madison and Yancey counties. She was able, even though she doesn't start on the 19th, she was able to take some time in October to go to the statewide conference along with Judge McIntyre and district attorney staff and folks like that. Very good work by our court system to have the pieces in place to want to make that work. You all, as a local government, found a way to fund that from a local standpoint. And drug court is now on the calendar from January to through March of 2019. And the first date for Madison County, November 27th, and then December 4th and December 18th. That is the start of something that's a very small piece of a huge problem, but it's a big step forward that you all have made possible, and it's good to have that update and see that moving forward. The some updates on things going on in the county, the administration building, the work going on there should be finished up abatement-wise sometime this week, and then we will be moving forward with laying down carpet in that space. It doesn't have a firm date, but I think we're looking at couple of weeks, won't be as long as it has been, get everybody back into that space. All of the departments have done a very good job of picking up very quickly, relocating our IT staff and our maintenance staff. Maintenance staff did a good job helping people move. IT did a great job of getting everyone set up very quickly. Within really 3.5 to 4 business days, everything was back up and running. Few things never could get up and running outside of the location we were in, but it's very few things. So all of those folks have been very patient, continue to be patient, and we'll be getting them back in as soon as possible. And all of the old tile that was in that building that's not under a movable wall will be out of there. So it's not something we'll have to worry about in the future. On October 29th, a couple of y'all were able to participate in a visit by the federal co-chairman of the Appalachian Regional Commission, Tim Thomas, who is a appointee of President Trump's. He's from Kentucky and used to run the Infrastructure Authority for Kentucky, and he worked for Senator Mitch McConnell a couple of times. He is over the entire Appalachian Regional Commission region, which is 7 or 8 states and hundreds of counties, and he and the North Carolina team and the executive director of ARC and the chief of staff spent about 8 hours in the county on that date. They visited advanced super abrasives. They looked at the Crossroads Parkway project. They went out to middle school for a presentation on the PAGE program, which both of those received ARC funding. The PAGE programs received it twice. And then the Crossroads Connector received funding last year and then additional funding this year, plus funding from the state. They also visited Bucci, and then at the end of the day, we held a drug roundtable with folks from the school system, court system, law enforcement, local government, crisis prevention, all of those, social services, good event, health department. Good event, one of those days that it's important to be able to do that. First of all, because they were coming to see some of the successes of Madison County. Also, because it was an opportunity to talk about some of our needs, be known to these people in the future. Very important as we move forward with other potential projects, which we are doing for the county. And that is basically the updates I have at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions if y'all have them. Thank you.
Joe?
Thank you.
Forrest, thank you. Okay. At this time, the chair will move that we enter into closed session under General Statute 143, 318, paragraph 11 for personnel. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second to enter into closed session. All in favor, raise your right hand. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in closed session. Thank you all for coming tonight.